Hey, what's up everybody? This is Soberg501 and today I want to go over an upcoming MMO that I think is flying pretty heavily under the radar. And this game is called V Rising, and this is going to be an MMO survival game with a top-down style of action combat that will be very familiar if you've ever played the Battle Right Arena game. And one of the most unique things about this game is that it is fully built around being a vampire and the kind of mythos that comes along with that. So taking damage out in the sun, you can't stay out in the sun too long, needing to drink blood from different humans, being able to control humans, and pretty much everything else you would expect from being a vampire. So I'm just going to go over some descriptions of the game from developers and then go over a few bits of more specific information that I think is important to know for this game. And hopefully through all this information, you'll get a good idea and overview of what this game is going to be. So first off, we have a vampire survival experience. Awaken as a weakened vampire after centuries of slumber. Hunt for blood in nearby settlements to regain your strength while hiding from the scorching sun to survive. Rebuild your castle and convert humans into your loyal servants in a quest to raise your vampire empire. Make allies online, fend off holy soldiers, and wage war against other players in a world of conflict. Explore a vast world teeming with mythical beings and danger. Travel through lush forests, open countryside, and dark dungeons to discover valuable resources, meeting friends and foes alike along the way. Traverse the world with vampire comrades or hunt solo as you pillage villages, raid bandits, and wander into the domains of supernatural beasts. Stick to the shadows during the daytime or the burning sunlight will turn you to ashes. Roam the night and prey on your victims in the darkness. As a vampire, you must quench your bloodthirst and plan your strategies around the day and night cycle. Gather resources and discover ancient techniques to gain dark powers. Use your newly acquired knowledge to build a castle where you can store your loot and grow your army of darkness. Personalize your domain, exhibit your vampire style, and make sure to craft coffins for servants and friends. Strengthen your castle while the threat from other players is rising. Travel alone or explore the world with friends. Fighting side by side with other vampires will give you an advantage in your battle against the strongest creatures and most powerful humans. Raid other players' castles or play the diplomat in the game of blood, power, and betrayal. Compete or cooperate, the choice is yours. Learn and master an arsenal of deadly weapons and unholy abilities in V Rising. You aim skill shots and dodge projectiles using precise WASD controls and cursor-based aiming, no click to move. Tailor your playstyle by combining melee or range weapons with a variety of powerful spell kits. Master your skills and unleash your wicked powers. So this game is going to have a very interesting mix between a survival game and an MMO while having that skill-based action combat. And just to note, I mentioned Battle Right before, and that is because the same company that made the Battle Right Arena game is making V Rising, and the combat is just going to be an updated and upgraded version of Battle Right. And the Battle Right combat was considered to be pretty good action combat and was usually the thing that was most liked about that game. So I'd fully expect the combat to be a very strong point for V Rising. So you'll be playing a vampire with all of that vampire mythos to go along with it. Like I said, you can't be in the sun too long. You're mainly going to be playing out at night. You have to go suck the blood of different humans. You'll be able to at some point control humans, turn them into vampires, and grow your army. You're going to be able to build up your own castle. It's an MMO, so there's going to be a ton of additional players. You'll be able to raid and siege other players' castles and go do a lot of the different things you would expect in an MMO while also mixing in those survival elements. Now, I do want to do more videos on the information we have already gotten on V Rising from the developers, but I do want to go over some additional information that I think is pretty important to kind of understanding what the game is. So first off, the perspective you're going to be playing the game in and this was done in a Q&A on the official site for the game. Is this a top-down perspective game, and how does the camera work? V-Rising uses a top-down camera similar to our previous games, but with some modifications. In the current design, the camera is slightly tilted, and you can rotate the camera 360 degrees. This gives a player more freedom and a better perspective when navigating the open world environment. So it still has a top-down view that's slightly slanted, so that is very similar to Battlerite, like I mentioned, but also similar to a lot of Diablo-like games, but you're able to turn the camera 360 degrees, so this gives you a lot more control into how you play the game, the different angles you can see the game from, and gaining additional information about the world and while you're in combat. Now, something else that was mentioned was having vampire servants. So we're currently working on this feature, and there might be changes down the road. In the current design, you hunt down and convert human warriors, archers, and mages to grow your army of darkness. They will protect your domain and stand ready to do their new master's biddings. Servants will also give you an extra pair of hands on your crafting stations. Every servant will need its own coffin. Now, the first thing I thought of when they were mentioning this is a much more lore-fitting version of something like the slave system from Conan Exiles. So you will essentially convert these humans that will probably have different abilities, will do different things better. You can then take back to your castle or have come with you, and they can help you on crafting stations. They can help defend your castle. You'll probably be able to keep them in your castle and put them on different modes to defend your castle or be aggressive or stuff like that. And it's seeming like you'll be able to take them out in the field as well and just do open combat with you. Now, something that I think a lot of people are going to be interested in is how many people you'll be able to play with. So how many players will be playing at the same time? We haven't decided on the exact number, but there will be room for at least 50 castles per server. Remember, there can only be one Dracula. So this is being touted as an MMO, and here they're saying that they don't know the exact number, but there will at least be 50 castles on a server. Now, I'm not exactly certain how these castle systems are going to work. Now, what it's sounding like is that you're going to claim specifically set plots where these castles will be made on. And since you'll be able to team up with people, most likely create clans or guilds or whatever the named equivalent of that will be, 50 castles most likely means there will be over 50 players on a server. And like I said, not 100% certain on how exactly the castle system is going to work, but I would wager to bet there's going to be anywhere from probably like 50 to 100 players on the server if there will be 50 castles on that server, maybe more. And then depending on if they end up making the servers have a lot more castles or not, I would assume this will be in the position of being a bit bigger than a lot of the other survival games. So something like Ark Survival Evolved, you can get like 100 player servers. Some of the private servers have a little bit higher, but I would say 100 is probably right around the average. And from all the information I've seen, it's seeming like this will be a bit bigger than that per server. Now, something that I think is very important in games like this is how many loading screens there would end up being. So are there loading screens when moving between areas in the world? Except for the starting zone, V-Rising offers a seamless world where you can move freely between regions and different areas, and we recommend traveling on horseback. So it will be a seamless open world. I'm personally much less of a fan of games that require you to have a loading screen going between zones. I think that more old school MMO feel of you load in and then you can just go anywhere without any loading screens is much better than a lot of the more sectioned off MMOs, kind of like something like Guild Wars has or Final Fantasy has, stuff like that, where even if it's not the biggest loading screen, still having that downtime between going to a different zone, in my opinion, makes the worlds feel more disjointed and a lot less like this big open world. So that's all the information I wanted to go over for an overview of V-Rising. I am very interested to learn more about this game and then play it once it comes out in early access. And I think if this is done right, this has a very good chance of being a very successful game because they have that really good combat that they can expand on that they had in Battlerite that they already proved they could do, with a very unique aesthetic with a full vampire mythos with those, you're playing as vampires. I think that's a pretty unique take on a survival type game. And then it just being the size to be considered an MMO, with having dozens and dozens of players on a server, possibly being able to be in the same battle at the same time, is all just a good mix for the possibility of a very successful game. So subscribe if you want to see more V Rising or other videos. Leave a like if you liked the video. Leave a comment down below what you guys think about this new survival MMO, and thanks for watching.